लोग बोलते कि शिव जी का भी भांग is शिव जी's प्रसाद. So when they say that, what do you have to say about it?
Who is Shiva, first of all? Shiva is that person who got a black throat, or you can call him a Neelakant. He got a bluish throat because he absorbed all the poison of the universe, the halahal. I would say to all these guys who say that Shivji bhi to wo bhang lete hain, ye lete hain. I've read the Shastras. I never found Shivji ever taking bhang. If you see the Bhagavad Gita says very clearly, Sarva yonishu kaunteya murteya sambhavantiyah tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradapita. It is God, Lord Krishna, who tells in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the Supreme Father. So whether you call him Allah, you call him Jehovah, you call him Krishna. So God may be addressed as different names, but we got to understand the principle of a supreme, loving, all-merciful, almighty, all-powerful God.
So hi everyone, this is Nitish Jain on the Nitish Jain Show, and today we have a really interesting guest with us, Sanatan Dharma Prabhu Ji. He is an ISKCON practitioner and devotee, say a sanyasi, since the last 16 years. And he has graduated from NIT Trichy, which is, the top 5 universities in India. Being from there, he has trained more than 1 lakh youth throughout his period of service with ISKCON. He is a life coach and is also a practitioner of spiritual life practices, where he also has a podcast show on Hare Krishna TV named Seedhi Baat with Prabhu Ji. So the best thing about him is, the way he connects with the millennials is something which I've not seen before. And getting a person like him with whom we can really connect with and talk to is something really rare. So I'm really looking forward to having a conversation with him, and welcome on the show, Prabhu Ji.
Oh, Hare Krishna. It's so good to be here with you. Yeah, go ahead.
So, Prabhu Ji, but then, first of all, even before we start, thank you so much for, coming here, even though it's past your time. I mean, it's 9:30 and you usually wind up your day by this time.
Exactly.
Right? Thank you so much. And
यहाँ से पहले ही बोला था कि बैटरीज थोड़ी डाउन हो जाती, तो मैंने थोड़ा बैटरीज चार्ज करके आया था. I just charged it up for myself.
Thank you so much, Prabhu Ji. But then, Prabhu Ji, 9:30, Sona, 4:30 AM, I heard that you wake up. Can you tell me a bit more about this whole life? Do you want to know my
routine or exactly कैसा?
What's your routine like?
Sure. जो routine हमारा होता है, we have this routine. It's very much connected not only to our metabolism, but also to get completely in sync with the universe.
Okay.
Yeah. And what we do about is we retire. Now, when things slow down, look at animals, you look at birds, they have a particular time in which they all go off.
Yeah.
Dekha rahega.
Yeah.
And they don't stay up like that.
Yes.
Unka rehta hai. And in fact, somebody who wakes up too much, stays up late, unko to we call them ullu, or we call them owls, right?
Ji.
And that's not something which is very palatable to hear.
Ji.
That's usually something that is a cuss word many times.
Bilkul.
So, if you see, we retire early. And this proverb that goes, हम लोग तो ये school के दिनों से we have been hearing this, that early to bed, early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy and wise. And we put it to practice. So we try our level best to get to retire to bed. Personally, myself, 9 p.m. to 9:30. Uske beech mein I get to bed.
Okay.
Worst case, seva sab zyada raha. We got a lot of services and many more commitments that it might go on till 10.
Okay.
Right? So there's only one day where it's our cheat day, and that's Janmashtami. That's a cheat day for us.
Okay.
So where we stay up post the midnight.
Okay.
And exactly 6 hours after that, whenever you take rest, we try to get up.
Okay.
Once we are up, we are done with our bath, and then we have 2 hours of solid chanting meditation.
So you wake up by?
Whatever, 9:30 to 3:30.
Okay.
9 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
Wow.
That's how I wake up.
Okay.
And if it's 10, then it's 4.
Okay.
So 6 hours of good rest in the night, and after that, uske baad, we have our meditation.
Okay.
We start with our chanting, and it's for 2 hours.
Okay.
We do the solid meditation, which is our core sadhana, core aspect of our practice.
Okay.
We do also the Pancharatrika Vidhi, which means the deity worship
Okay.
in the temple.
Okay.
Yes, that's for getting the Brahmanical standards.
Okay.
Coming to the mode of sattva, to the mode of goodness. And apart from that, every day there is a sermon that we attend, Srimad Bhagavatam class, education, spiritual education aspect ke hisab se. And then we have the Krishna Prasadam, and that concludes our morning program. That's what we call it. And once that is done, then we have our regular studies and our regular services, contribution to society. And that goes on. And pretty much doing its education, its training, and there is reach out. So personally, how I divide my life, I split my day into 3 parts. 8 hours for the body.
Okay.
Now, everybody needs 8 hours for the body. You need 6 hours of good rest. Good rest. What I call it rest means not just tossing here and there.
Deep sleep.
Deep sleep, exactly. You hit the bed and you're snoring. That's it. That's what I call as deep rest. Then 2 hours for taking bath, eating. You end up doing all that. So that's like 8 hours. 8 hours for our own sadhana, which means our practice, core practices, which include chanting, which includes education, studying of scriptures, right? Association with other monks, sangha, all these things, that includes our 8 hours. And the final 8 hours is our contribution to the society. Yes, our preaching activities. So we go to different areas. It can be schools, colleges, corporates, housing colonies. We go there and we do reach out the message what we have studied.
So Prabhuji, what's the purpose of reaching out, or what's the purpose of your life at this point?
Okay, the purpose of my life, it's said in the Sanskrit, Janama Sarthaka Kori, Koro Paropakar, which means we fulfill the purpose of our life and then we try to give a fulfillment to others. Personally, my name is Sanatan Dharma Das. This is a name that's given by my spiritual master. My legal name was Siddharth. This is what my parents gave me. And I got the meaning of my name much later, at the point when I was actually into spirituality.
Okay.
That Siddharth means a person who actually fulfills the purpose of his life.
Okay.
And my parents gave me a very apt name. So I could, in this particular life, I could get the process by which I can attain complete fulfillment. And not only that, our fulfillment lies incomplete till the time we make a modest contribution to the society.
So Prabhuji, but then it's such a beautiful name. What was the reason for changing your name? And how does that happen? Why S and S is matching here?
Okay. We need to understand that, first of all, I will talk about the SNS matching. It's not always the case.
Okay.
Yeah, not always. It's not that every time you add your legal name with the name S, so you get a name like that.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
You get a name from where?
Okay. Now we need to understand that we have a legal name, and even when we get a name in general, I would refer to the Indian society. Many of them try to get the first akshara, which is based on the date, place, and time you're born.
Astrology, I guess.
Astrologically, we get a letter, akshara. And usually the same akshara is maintained when you get a spiritual name.
Okay.
Now, just as you're born, right? When you're born, you get a new name. Okay. So similarly, there is a process of spiritual birth, which is called an initiation, wherein you get a spiritual name. And when you're born, you get your name. Along with that, you associate with your family name or your surname. Right. So similarly, in spiritual line, we get a surname of a servant, a title of a servant. That's Das. You addressed me as Sanatan Dharma Prabhu Ji. Yes. If someone were to ask me what's your name, I would say it's Sanatan Dharma Das.
Ji.
So we get the title of Das, which is an honor.
Wow.
Right. So we are servants.
Okay.
We are everybody's servants.
Okay.
So that's the main aspect of the name. The former one, well, that's fine.
Okay.
But what matters the most is the title of Das, which means we are here for holistic service of an individual, not just an individual, of multitudes.
Why, Prabhuji? Why the service of others? What do you get out of it?
Very good. Now, if you see, we have to understand that what is Dharma? Now, my name is Sanatan Dharma, but many of them ask, first you explain the meaning of your name, Dharma. Now, many times people take Dharma to religion. Well, people may call it names like Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Taoism, Shinto. There are ample number of religions. But we need to understand the very word Dharma doesn't just refer to religion as in it's called in the modern context. As such, Dharma means which is an innate property of somebody which cannot be separated. Right now we have this cup. Now this is a black cup, which is very wonderfully your name printed on it. I would like it to be visible. Okay. Right. Great. So it's a black cup. Can you separate the blackness from this cup?
I guess not.
No, because that's a property of
Yes.
that cup. Similarly, if there is chili, what is the property or dharma of a chili?
तीखा होता है वो.
Exactly. Tikha hota hai, that is spicy.
जी.
Dharma of sugar, to be sweet.
Sweet.
Then what is our dharma? That which cannot be separated from us.
To serve.
Exactly. To love and serve.
Okay.
To love and serve. We all need somebody to love. And many times you find that when a person doesn't have anybody to love, well, you go to a pet shop, you get a pet, you buy a pet, and you serve the pet. Isn't it true? Right?
It's
And what do you do?
perspective.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And then you love the pet and you serve the pet. Because to love means to serve. These two terminologies are distinct and yet connected.
Beautiful.
So it is our innate nature to serve. And when you're on a spiritual path, we have to actually live as per our innate nature. And our innate nature is to serve. Trust me, when there's an opportunity to whether to enjoy or to serve, people prefer to enjoy.
Okay.
But on the other hand, they don't get fulfillment. And that's what even the Gita says. Ehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yone evate. You try to enjoy something, the first thing that you get is dukkha or misery. On the other hand, if someone were to serve first, that is the person who would like to have, they get the fulfillment. I just had a group of students come up for a program. And after the program, as you know, in all our ISKCON programs, we do have very wonderful prasadam. And normally there's a lot of crowd coming in for the prasadam time.
Prasad is Prabhuji that small prasad or what kind of prasad?
That's a full course. It's not just the kadi sakhar or the laddus that you get. Yeah, anything that's offered to Lord is prasad.
Okay.
So we have the whole course which is served there. And we asked a group of students, how many of you would volunteer to serve? And many of them just sat down. Well, we like to take and then leave, push off early. And some of them, initially, they had some resistance, but they reluctantly, nevertheless, they came forward to serve. And they came forward to serve and they served the prasadam. And after serving the prasadam, they got some fulfillment by such service. They said, Prabhuji, every time we come to the program, can we volunteer for serving prasadam always?
Prabhuji, but sometimes about service, first of all, I want to know the dynamics. Why do we feel happy about that? But secondly, Prabhuji, I had this confusion. Sometimes when we serve, so for example, there are, poor people who are in the dire need of food. We give them the food and we feel the ego that, okay, I have given them food, that's why I feel happy. Is that serving? And if that's serving, what's the dynamics of serving which makes us happy?
Very deep. So firstly, as you asked, what gives the fulfillment? Well, that is because we are aligning with the innate nature.
Okay.
Very simple. So where will the fish be happy? You take a fish in water.
Yes.
Because that's the natural ambience that the fish wants to be in. That's the atmosphere, that's the environment the fish loves to stay, because that is what it's natural. Similarly, an ambience which is full of service attitude is very natural. Now, coming to your second part of your question that, I go and, do some service for somebody. And then I go and claim the credit. I just click photographs. I show off. Just see how much am I doing for people. And then over and above that, you call the newspaper, media, everybody, come on, click, write the article about me, write about me in the magazine, or you pay somebody to write about yourself. And there is an egoistic pleasure that comes there. But that's not what I call service as well. Service can come with motivations.
Okay.
Where somebody performs a service to harm somebody. Yes, there's some kind of pride, anger, violence, envy. These feelings associated, that kind of a service is a service of ignorance as per Bhagavad Gita. It's the lowest type of service. It is a service.
For example,
Somebody is taking a lot of pride. Oh, I'm such a great person. Or somebody's saying, oh, how much did you serve? You served X, I will serve 2X. Envy, competition, anger.
Okay.
So this kind of service is in the mode of ignorance.
Okay.
Tamoguna. On the other hand, when somebody serves for fame, he serves for enjoyment, he serves to get more opulence. Well, if I serve well, I'll be promoted better. That is service in the mode of passion, with an expectation of return. Rajoguna. On the other hand, when somebody is serving out of selflessness, right, such a service is accepted in the mode of goodness, And such a service which is offered in the mode of goodness yields one happiness. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. Because the Srimad Bhagavatam, the postgraduate study of Gita, does explain to us that there is something beyond the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas.
Okay.
Yes, there's something beyond. That's called Shuddha Sattva. The highest fulfillment is begotten when you offer that person a connection with one's true self. I'll give you an example. Imagine there is a very, very poor boy. He's tattered clothes. He's on the streets. He's struggling to earn even a single penny. A passerby goes there and just drops a 1 rupee coin. And the boy takes it. Isn't it service? It is. Another person goes, gives him a 10 rupee note. Is that not service? It is. Another person goes by, he gets a rice plate and gives him, come on, eat. You must be hungry. Isn't that service?
It is.
Even that's good. Another person walks by. He says, now it's time for you to get to bed. But you don't have a bed. Well, let me at least arrange a blanket for you so that you're protected. Isn't that service? Even that is service. But yet another person comes and he tells the boy, wait a minute. I think I know you. Aren't you the son of that rich business magnate, that business tycoon? He did mention to all of us, you got separated from him because of some unfortunate reason. Aren't you the same boy? Come, let me take you to daddy.
Okay.
So he holds him and brings him to his father and just hands him over to father. Isn't that service? Yes, all of these things are service. But I want, Nitish, you tell me, who did the best service to that particular boy?
The one who took him to the father?
Exactly. And that is called a spiritual service, where you help a person connect to his spiritual father.
So who is the spiritual father, Prabhu?
Very good. And that was coming. I knew that. Well, spiritual father. If you see the Bhagavad Gita says very clearly, Sarva yonishu kaunteya murteya sambhavantiyah tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradapita. It is God, Lord Krishna, who tells in the Bhagavad Gita that He is the Supreme Father. Now, if you look at the Bible, even Jesus Christ, O Father, thou art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, give us our daily bread. Even He addressed the Supreme Father. Even Muhammad in the Quran,
Yes.
he does mention about the 100 names of Allah.
Ji.
Allahu Akbar, God is great. He referred to God as Allah. So whether you call Him Allah, you call Him Jehovah, you call Him Krishna. Ultimately, just as the sun God is addressed by different names. He's called as Ravi, Bhaskara, Bhanu, Surya. Yes, so there are different names. So God may be addressed as different names. But we got to understand the principle of a supreme, loving, all-merciful, almighty, all-powerful God who is our Supreme Father.
So, Prabhuji, for you, who is your Supreme Father? But obviously, Krishna ji, right?
Yeah, we need to understand, yes, we are here, we get the teachings from Bhagavad Gita and the wisdom literatures, Vedic scriptures.
Ji.
And the scriptures, they say, Ete chamsha kala pumsa, Krishnastu Bhagavana Swayam. So it's not that we have manufactured, ISKCON वालों ने कृष्ण को वोट डाल के भगवान बना दिया. Yeah, some people say that. Okay, so you guys are, you have Krishna followers. You worship Krishna, we worship so-and-so, we worship some mumbo jumbo. It's not like that. We have to understand this one thing, that whatever the scriptures, the word of God, they say, we accept that word of God and we present it. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, well, who is God? If He is God, the person has to be all attractive. Yes, the principle has to be all attractive. And what is it that makes one all attractive? One's opulence. Now, in this world, who do we get attracted to? In this world, we definitely get attracted to those who are rich. Yeah, money.
Yes.
Yeah. So some people have 1 crore, some people have 100 crores,
Ji.
some people may have $1 trillion, zillion dollars, etc.
Ji.
So they are attracted because of the money. But what if somebody is the possessor of all the wealth? He's called Lakshmipati. Now in this world, you are attracted to somebody who is very beautiful. Yeah. It may be a man, a woman, anybody, somebody having beautiful features.
जी.
But in this world, normally, dekha jata, we see that people are attracted to the opposite gender of the same species.
Yeah.
Normally.
Yes.
Need not be, but normally.
जी बाबूजी, yes.
But it may not be that other species are getting attracted to you.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, a god is that person who is so very lovely and beautiful that he's attractive to all the species through his beauty. He enchants. So that person is Sarava Manohara Krishna.
But Prabhuji, then you...
So similarly, there are many more opulences. I'm sorry I cut you out. Yeah.
Please.
The opulence of knowledge, the opulence of wealth I did mention, the opulence of riches, the opulence of fame, the opulence of strength. He's holding so many planets and stars together on the sky. So putting all this, there are 6 opulences. Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Yashasasya, and Jnana and Vairagya. Ultimately is all renounced as well. So putting it all together, the personality who has the 6 opulences in complete, he is called as Bhagavan. Right? He's called as Bhagavan or God. And such a person has to be all attractive. So this word, all attractive, comes from a very common Hindi terminology called Akarshan. So this Akarshan comes from a Sanskrit terminology called Krishna. So somebody who is Krishna, all attractive, is called as Krishna.
Okay. But Prabhuji, then if you feel that Krishna has all those 6 opulences, then बाकी सब में 1-2 opulences कम ज़्यादा हो गए, फिर इसके लिए आप उसको उनको नहीं कर रहे. Because what you said is we get attracted to one who has all the 6 opulences, and you see that in Krishna. But for someone who is from another religion, say, why would they want to then not follow Krishna? Why are they not attracted to Krishna? That's one thing. And second thing, Prabhuji, why are you now attracted to Krishna? Or is it just because of birth, or is it actually because of these 6 opulences which you don't see in other births?
Well, anybody would be attracted to these 6 opulences either directly or indirectly. So you may say, okay, well, somebody is not attracted to these 6 opulences. Somebody says, I don't believe Krishna is beautiful, but do you believe this so-called actor or actress is beautiful? They'll say yes.
Yes.
So, but whose opulence is that?
Prabhuji, for them that could be Allah or Jesus or anyone.
No problem. That's completely all right.
Ji, but then for them it is them. Then
there is absolutely no problem, because what is the highest religion? Highest religion is not Hinduism, Christianity or Islam. Highest religion is that religion which teaches you to love God.
Any God it might be.
Well, God is one. The God is one, addressed by different names, as I just mentioned before. Right?
So you mean
the
to
same
say,
personality.
So I mean to say Krishna is Allah and Jesus also.
There is Jesus. Well, Jesus never claimed to be God.
Yeah.
Jesus said, "I'm a son of God."
Son of God.
And Jesus, he added a suffix to his name, that is Christ.
Christ.
And where does Christ comes from? Christ comes from a Greek word called Christos. And Christos comes from the Sanskrit word Krishna, which is Krishna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So there is a connection.
Okay. So Prabhuji, what's your final purpose? Is your final purpose to reach Krishna? Is your final purpose to go in the heavenly planets? Or what's your final destination according to you?
Okay. Well, the path of the Bhakti Yoga, which we are practicing, there are different yogas that Krishna teaches. The path and the means are the same.
Okay.
So our path is that of service to Krishna and his devotees, and our end, the goal, is service to Krishna and his devotees. So we are here not exactly, oh, you want to go there, you want to go here. No. We are always standing. Our goal, the prayer, I'll recite a Sanskrit prayer, which says that na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavatat bhaktir ahaitu tvai. So without any motivation and interruption, we simply want to serve God and his devotees.
Wow.
That's our path and that's our end.
Beautiful, Prabhuji. So that's why Sanatan Dharma is how, suits so well to you, I feel.
Oh.
But Prabhuji, when we're talking, a lot of all the devotees in ISKCON, have the same path in this. This reminds me of one more thing. I've been to ISKCON Dubai, I've been to ISKCON different states in India also, but somewhere down the line, they are all functioning in a similar way. So how is ISKCON as a organization actually maintaining that consistency? They wake up same time, have the same bhajans, kirtans, same way dressing, same way rituals are there. But when we think of, some other religions and temples, there are a lot of differences, a lot of ways, people practice them. So what makes ISKCON different and how is that consistency into play?
Yes, this has been complemented by many actually. Because they've been to all the temples everywhere, 4:30 we have Mangalarti.
Yes.
Yes. And when the Darshanarti comes, there's a Govinda Madi Purusham.
Yes.
The way we greet the deities after they have taken bath. Right? So we have to understand that we follow certain set of rules which are laid down by our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada, he laid down proper, because he said that ISKCON as an organization will grow with organization and intelligence. So he ensured that there are proper systems prevalent, and in order to protect and to ensure the systems go on, he made a set of leadership.
Okay.
Yes, he did make a leadership called the governing body commissioners.
How is so, Prabhuji, can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada laid down the foundation of ISKCON. He laid down the foundation of what all activities should go on in ISKCON, how the program should be conducted in ISKCON, how a temple should be conducted, and everything. And we follow that particular model. It has been going down in the chain of disciplic succession. So he has created a legacy of his own disciples to ensure that this is happening properly, and it's transferred down the line.
Okay.
Very much. So it is very standardized, and everywhere the same thing is followed.
And it's so impressive, Prabhuji. You're building acres and acres of temples, and all of it, I guess, all in-house sourced. I guess all the skill is in-house, I guess, most of the time.
No, we do outsource also when necessary.
But I guess the management of
exactly.
that whole is
management is never outsourced, but the construction might be, of course.
Okay.
We may not have. In Prabhupada's time, that is to happen. Many of the devotees, they have brought the cement bags, they have counted the bricks, they've laid down, they constructed many of the temples.
Okay.
But these days, of course, we might outsource the construction and the management associated with that. But as far as the functioning is concerned, it's all done by the devotees.
So, Prabhuji, is there a hierarchy one can learn from? Because, a lot of international foundations fail. But ISKCON is present, everywhere I go, I know I'll find an ISKCON. It's home to me. Though, how is there a hierarchy? Say, for example, in Pune, what's the hierarchy like?
Okay, there is a hierarchy, definitely. But what's more important than the managerial principles are the spiritual principles.
Okay.
Because our Srila Prabhupada, as a founder Acharya, quoted the scriptures offer. And he said the management will be at your fingertips if you ensure that the members of the society are chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra properly.
Okay.
They're reading his books.
Okay.
And at the same time following the 4 regulative principles, namely no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex.
Okay.
If you're following this properly, then the management will all perfectly do. It will happen perfectly. It is actually Krishna who's doing the management. It's God who does it. Okay. We simply act as humble instruments. Just like Krishna told Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita in the 11th chapter, 33rd verse, Nimitta matra bhavasavya. So he told Arjuna that, well, I have already killed all these people, the Kauravas. He displayed it in the universal form. All you have to do is just be an instrument and take the credit. Mm-hmm. So that's what we all have been doing. So hierarchy, the structure, the framework, these are all definitely to be laid down. Any organization to run should have all these aspects. But what's more important is the substance of the organization. So otherwise we are not going to be a spiritual organization. So the spiritual substance, the core sadhana, which I mentioned, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the lectures on the Srimad Bhagavatam, the distribution of spiritual literatures, the distribution of prasadam, right? And the devotees very strictly adhering to these practices, especially that I mentioned, the 4 regulative principles. That forms the foundation for an organization to consistently go year after year, even after the departure of the founder Acharya.
Wow. So, Prabhuji, you mentioned the 4 regulatory principles. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah. This is a shloka in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, which says, Dyutam panam striya shuna yatra adharmas chaturvida. Yes, there are 4 types of religion. Yes, sir, dharma or the religion is like a bull, a representation of a bull. And the bull stands on 4 legs. And these 4 legs or the 4 pillars of religion, they are austerity, that is tapasya, mercy, which is daya, shaucha, which is cleanliness, and satya, which is truthfulness. And corresponding to these 4 pillars of dharma or the 4 legs of the bull, who is a representation of dharma, we break one of these things. That's called breaking of the 4 regulative principles.
Okay.
Exactly. The opposite of dharma is adharma. So now, what is something that breaks austerity? Austerity is tapasya, which is meant to control the senses. When you take intoxication, your senses become out of control. So that is intoxication, the first regulative principle which we shouldn't break. No intoxication. Then second one is, I told you, daya or compassion. Compassion not just for fellow human beings. Now many of them at these times wear t-shirt of being human and they go around. No, not just being human. Okay, fine. You be human, but what it means to be human? To be human means to be compassionate to every single creature who is a child of God. Because Krishna says, Aham Bija Pradapita. He is the father of all the 8.4 million species. So that is daya, compassion for all. And when you break that, especially by cruelty towards other creatures, we call that as meat eating or cruelty to any kind of cruelty to any creature. That breaks daya. The third pillar of dharma is shaucha or swachhata. In Hindi we call it. Shaucha is the principle in Sanskrit. Shaucha means cleanliness. Now every day people take bath to maintain external cleanliness. And what about internal cleanliness? What about the inner purity? So that inner purity or internal cleanliness is broken when one performs the activity of illicit sex. Yes, that is sex before marriage or sex outside of one's marriage is called as illicit sex.
So Prabhuji, how can one break that swachhata before but not after the marriage?
As in like?
So like after the marriage, how, it's fine. But
okay, after the marriage, as in like one has extramarital affairs.
Okay.
Before marriage, where one is given the facility or the license to have sex to produce children.
Okay.
Right. So that breaking that. So I hope that clarifies.
But even when they're married, if they indulge in sex, how would that be not as such?
Okay. So Krishna mentions the Bhagavad Gita. This is 7.11. Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharmad aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshaba. Even to produce children, and there has to be a certain set of rules when the couple has to take care to unite. Even for the union to take place, garbhadharana, there are a lot of rules and regulations. So it's an ideal platform where one is able to follow all that rules before one can get a very nice progeny. Somebody not following that it can be called as illicit.
Okay.
So there are different levels. I'll come to that. Finally, I'll mention this, then I'll come back to you. Satya. The Satyam, the principle of Satya or the truth is broken when you tell a lie or when you perform gambling. Because gambling is a particular activity where you have to cheat. You have to tell a lie, any kind of gamble. So there you compromise on truth. Coming back to your about illicit or illicit sex. Well, there are 3 principles. We call it the SSR. The first thing is called as sanctioned. Now, one is sanctioned to have sexual activity only with one's wife. Legitimate married wife. One is entitled to have sex. So that is sanctioned. Number 2 is sanctified. Now, sanctified happens when you are following all the rules of the Manusmriti in order to beget a progeny. Progeny which is a good progeny that is developed. And the third is a regulation. The activity of sex itself is as such stimulating a lot of Rajoguna, which is not very conducive for the spiritual path. But one doesn't have to stop, one has to regulate. Because that urge to have indulge in sex is there. And how does one purify it? One purifies it by getting properly married, and within the married life, the framework of Grihastha Ashram, one follows the proper rules and regulations in order to beget the right progeny. So that is the regulation there. So sanctioned, sanctified and regulated.
Okay, Prabhuji. But then like a lot of people had asked me, they used to counter this ki Lord Krishna had several wives, and also he played Raslila with a lot of them. So like, what's that dynamics then? Like, is it something we're understanding it wrong, or what is it about?
Okay. So Lord Krishna having so many wives, let me tell you, how did he get so many wives? So it's not that Lord Krishna we have to understand how he got the wives. So 16,108 wives he had totally. But out of which 16,100 girls were abducted, kidnapped, and they were going to be forcibly molested by a demon named Narakasur. So all these girls wrote a plea to Krishna that you come and save us. So Krishna did save them. And he delivered that Asura, who happened to be his own son from Bhumi Devi. Yeah.
Okay.
He was Bhauma. And because of his association with other demons, he became Naraka. And obviously, just like we get the title Das, the Asuras get the title Asura.
Okay.
Like Bana Sura, Dhenuka Sura, Baka Sura. So he got it, Naraka Sura. He got the title. So after that, Krishna said, you girls are free. But at that particular point of time, if a Kshatriya girl were to be abducted by somebody, she becomes their property. That's called Rakshasa Vivaha. So none of the members of the society would accept them. But Krishna is such a wonderful social reformer that he asked them, what exactly that is it that you want to do? And the girl said, well, if nobody's where to accept us, why don't you accept us? Krishna said, okay. So in one sense, Krishna accepted all these girls being a social reformer. And not only did he, chalo, la ke shaadi kar diya aur rakh diya unko. No, he didn't do that. He gave every single girl a palace to stay. He gave each and every one of them the jewelry, the dress they required, the care, attention, time required. And everybody had 10 children, 10 boys, 1 girl. And he ensured that he manifested himself, expanded himself into 16,108 and gave time to everybody. Now he was capable of doing that. आजकल एक संभाल के दिखाए वो भी नहीं जमता आपको. And as far as the Ras Leela is concerned, we need to understand what is the age of Krishna when he performed the Ras Leela. He was 8 years old. And the gopis who danced with Krishna, they were of similar age or slightly elder. Now what kind of lusty feeling would one have in that tender age? That's first thing we have to understand. And that was a dance of pure love. And nowadays, when people get together or there's a lot of free mixing, many times such kind of handshakes even end up in abortion. We see, it happens, right? Handshake ends up in abortion. It happens like that because there is absolutely no control. Hormonal control, as this generation calls it. Hormones, they're secreted, the impulse is there and people indulge. And many of the girls go for abortion. Do we hear one case of abortion that happened after the Ras Leela? All this.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess it's more of responsibility than the lust part.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it was the desire of the gopis in order to provide enjoyment to Krishna.
Okay.
And even there, he did reciprocate with every single gopi. That's a very deep pastime.
Okay.
So Rasa Leela, I will just tell you there are different sections of gopis. I'll just introduce one section of gopi. And they were called as Rishi Chari gopis. When Lord Ram entered into the Dandakaranya, the Deccan. We are in Dandakaranya. Pune comes in Deccan. We have a train called Deccan Queen. So that was called Dandaka Aranya. Aranya means forest and Dandaka was the forest. So when Lord Ram came with Mother Sita, so all the sages of Dandakaranya, they saw Mother Sita serving Lord Ram. So they all went up to Lord Ram and they said, Lord, we also want to serve you like Sita. And Lord Ram said, well, you can serve me, but like Sita, this life Ekapatni Vrat. You have to come again, right, for me. And he just fulfilled their wish. So they were all called as Rishi Chari gopis, right? Some of the gopis were Vedas personified. Like Vedavati, she was unable to unite with Ram. She was not able to get her lot. So Vedas personified Shruti Chari gopis. They had taken part in the Ras Leela just to serve the Lord. So it was completely a pastime centered around serving Krishna. There was nothing very lusty about it at all.
Okay, understand. And Prabhuji, what about that pap karma, which is indulging in substances? Log bolte ki Shivji ka bhi bhang is Shivji's prasad. So when they say that, what do you have to say about that?
Well, this is quite funny for me. We need to understand who is Shiva, first of all. Shiva is that person who got a black throat, or you can call him a Neelakant. He got a bluish throat because he absorbed all the poison of the universe, the halahal, the kalakuta poison which came up in the Samudra Manthan. He took it as an act of compassion for all the living entities. Such a great personality, Shiva. He could eat and he could drink the poison. Of course, now he couldn't spill it out. If he were to spill out, it would destroy the universe. The entire universe will be ruined. He would take inside, well, I don't know what will be the consequences. That never happened. But mainly, he was holding it in his neck. He had that capability. That was his level. Bapre, class hota hai vyakti ka. So I would say to all these guys who say that Shivji bhi to wo bhang lete hain, ye lete hain. I've read the Shastras. I never found Shivji ever taking bhang.
Okay.
ये किसने बनाया पता नहीं, वो विष पीते हैं, अरे वो पी के दिखा पे. So I would say that to people. Well, sometimes people would say, लेकिन ये भी ये सब जो substance जो बोलते हैं, substance abuse जो बताते हैं, all these substance तो भगवान ने बनाया है. He's made of it. Well, I would say भगवान ने poison भी बनाया. He's made the poison. Why don't you try that first? If that's God creation. So we need to understand everything is made with a purpose. Why the poison is made, there is a purpose behind that. Because if you look at the Ayurveda, when we make a medicine, the medicine has 3 parts. Yes. The first part of the medicine is you have to get some herbs. Yes, herbs have to be in high quantity. The next part of the medicine is there has to be some amount of alcohol, substance. Right? Some substance has to be there to make a medicine. And then little bit, pinch of poison also has to be taken. So when you take the herbs, a little bit of the substance that we are talking about, bhang or whatever, and a very, very less amount of poison, this together makes a medicine. ऐसे दवाई बनती है. This is Ayurvedic medicine. If you look at the allopathic medicine, बिल्कुल उल्टा है. The allopathic medicine contains very high quantity of alcohol and poison, very less quantity of herbs. Yes, but
it numbs and like all these substances.
Exactly. That puts you down to tamoguna many times. इसे दवाई खा के normally what happens, allopathic medicine कोई भी खाता है, what happens?
Chill out लगता है.
He passes out. क्या chill out रहता है? Pass out हो जाता है. That's what happens. So now if you see this, on the other hand, Ayuhu Vedaha. Veda means knowledge and Ayu means how to prolong your life. Right? So that is the purpose of poison and the substance which is created. भाई mostly बीमारी कहाँ से शुरू होती है? यहाँ से. Control किया, you control your input. Then you control your belly. All the diseases arise from here. यहाँ से सारी बीमारी शुरू होती है. यहाँ से नहीं, यहाँ से. The way you eat.
Yes.
So you've done this wrong, इधर कुछ गड़बड़ हुआ, don't worry. God is so merciful, उन्होंने सारे arrangement करके रखा. भाई herbs है, poison है, substance भी है. But that substance is not meant to be indiscriminately consumed. Yes, so that is going to harm your body.
Got it, Prabhuji.
So that's the purpose.
So Prabhuji, like for those who are indulging in all these char babkar, meat eating and all these things, so like what would you suggest? People who are plagued with diseases like these 4 babkams, do you have any 3 to 4 pointers you would suggest them to, eradicate all of these from their lives?
Yeah. Personally, if you see how our Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya, taught people, he didn't directly tell people to give up these 4 papa karmas. He told people very compassionately to first connect to Krishna, connect with God. So I would suggest them first to learn the Shastras. You start getting shiksha. You start learning what is scriptures. Basically, philosophy contains 5 questions. What's your initial point? Who you are and where are you? Where are you right now? Number 2 is what's your end point? Where do you have to reach? Third, what is the path to be taken? Fourth, what are the possible obstacles that you'll have to face when you're, progressing in the path? And finally, what is your experience after you've reached your destination? These 5 questions constitute a philosophy. So it's the duty of every single human being to go through this knowledge, to get this knowledge, which is very much available in the scriptures, but it's very hard to decode a scripture unless you have a proper mentor, guide, teacher who can train you in those aspects. So I first encourage everybody to learn the philosophy. You should have these answers to these 5 questions of life. And then along with that philosophy, you start your spiritual practice. The sadhana or the spiritual practice recommended for this particular age is Harer Nama. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama iva kevalam kalau nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatiranyata. In this age of Kali, there is no other way than the chanting of the holy name, holy name, holy name. That's mentioned 3 times.
Okay.
So we tell people to chant the holy name. We chant. And now why? We recommend the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The reason being is this is a direct Mahamantra from Kali Sandran Upanishad. The Upanishad meant for the age of Kali. It says iti shodashaka namnam kali kalmashanashanam natta paratrupaya sarva vidrishu drishyate. If you were to seek out the essence of all the Vedas contain 10 to the power 10 shlokas. इसको पहले पढ़ना है तो 12 साल का पैनिनी ग्रामर सीखना पड़ता है. उसके बाद 50 साल में कंप्लीट करना है तो रोज 2.5 लाख श्लोक पढ़ने पड़ते हैं. पढ़ना समझना दूर की बात है. You lost your 62 years. So why do you have to browse through all this? Best is just directly reach the conclusion. So after browsing through all the Vedas, the crux is the 16 words. And those 16 words are the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So this is the mantra which we give. You recommend, you start, you apply, try. मैं तो normally बोलता हूँ अपने students को जो नए आ रहे हैं that this can be a 7-day trial pack. Please subscribe कीजिए, इसको free है. Try कीजिए, अच्छा लगा, continue कीजिए, नहीं अच्छा लगने का सवाल ही नहीं उठता. That's how it is.
So Prabhuji, you know, sometimes when we talk, like people are introduced like this, sometimes they feel कि अरे ये हमें क्या करने बोल रहे हैं, ये कल्ट है क्या, ये कोई ऐसा मेरे को ब्रेन वॉश करना चाहते हैं लोग, बोल के बोलेगे दूसरे चीज़ों में कराएंगे एंड देन हम उधर ही फंस जाएंगे और जिंदगी भर नहीं निकल पाए.
Okay, no, I'll come to you. Nitish, you tell me what exactly is cult. जो आप cult ये शब्द यूज करते हैं ना, because people अलग अलग पर्सपेक्टिव में इस शब्द को यूज करते हैं. So what exactly according to you is cult?
Prabhuji, from me as a layman, I feel cult is a group of people who have formed an organization for a particular purpose, and they get other people, try to attract other people to that purpose. More often than not, it is given a negative connotation where for a particular, say devilish purpose or say like such a thing.
Maybe उनका number grow करना है, एक agenda है, ulterior motive है जो का नहीं पता है, and they just want to grow their number. They want to outnumber others and then showcase their power. Something of that sort?
Something of that sort.
Okay. And why would someone want to think like that? Anyways, personally, I've been associated with this process because organization hai. But this organization is meant actually. Now, when I went to my spiritual master and I asked him, what is the purpose of this organization? He told me a very beautiful thing, something which I'm going to share with all of you and the viewers as well. He says, Sarvepi sukhino santu, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschit dukkha bhave. So he said very clearly, we are here to spread happiness. Yes, we are here. We never convert people. Now, we never force people or impose people कि ऐसा ही करना है. Absolutely not. Whoever comes in connection or contact with us, we try to share some knowledge or wisdom that's worked for us, and it might work for you, and it might had some value or meaning in your life. बस इतना ही. तो वैसा कोई agenda वगैरह नहीं होता. कैसे, how to serve? I'll come back to the same point which I've been iterating this far about service. जो हम पहले करते आ रहे हैं, जो मेरे लिए काम किया, you try. You try this. If it works for you, good. नहीं वर्क करने का सवाल होता ही नहीं है if you've done sincerely.
So it changed something positively for you and you want to spread that love and service.
बिल्कुल वही है. तो फॉर एग्जाम्पल आप देख रहे हो कि भाई गुलाब जामुन बट रहे हैं, फ्री में बट रहे हैं, ढेर सारे हैं. You've had 3-4 of them. Now you have an opportunity कि बक्सा भर के लाए. तो बक्सा भर के आप लाते हैं, you get a box full of it and you distribute it to friends, and friends से एक से पेट नहीं भरा, चलो और दिखाता हूँ, I'll show you the way, please. I'll take you there and you can actually have as many as you want. There's an unlimited stock, and that's how it is.
Wow.
We have tasted something, we have relished it, and when you have relished, you develop a very deep conviction, and then, come on, I feel myself unfulfilled or I feel myself selfish if I keep it to myself and I do not share.
But प्रभु जी, इसके अंदर कई बार होता है ना कि वो गुलाब जामुन एडिक्ट बन गया, तो कभी घर ही नहीं आया, हलवाई के पास ही बैठ गया. तो जैसे पेरेंट्स ये बोलते हैं ना कि हमें उनको सबसे ज़्यादा डर ये रहता है कि ओके, उनको ये मेरे बेटे को हमेशा सन्यासी बना देंगे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अभी you're from NIT Trichy, you worked, and then I also would love to know how were your parents for this, and then those parents who are not really supporting this, what about that?
Exactly. एक चीज़ तो जैसे ही कोई नहीं रैंडम इंडियन किड, मैं सिर्फ लड़कों की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मैं लड़कियों की बात कर रहा हूँ, बिकॉज आई हैव स्टूडेंट्स एवरीवेयर फ्रॉम ऑल एवरी सिंगल सेक्टर ऑफ द सोसाइटी. तो जैसे ही खास करके अनमैरिड लोग शादी के बाद कर ले, देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम. अनमैरिड गाइज दे कम अप टू मी, दे ट्राई टू बिकम माई स्टूडेंट्स. दिस इज द फर्स्ट रेड फ्लैग दैट्स रेज्ड. भाई जो करना है शादी के बाद पहले सेटल हो, बिकॉज पेरेंट्स फील कि इधर ये सन्यासी बन जाएगा या फिर ही विल बिकम टू कैजुअल एंड रिलैक्स्ड अबाउट हिज मटेरियल परस्यूट्स, है ना. तो कैरियर में भाई इधर पहुंचना होता है ना, you might become too very satisfied because of spirituality comes. So one thing philosophically बताना चाहता हूँ, and I'll tell you some practical stats also. तो philosophically बताएंगे तो भगवद गीता, who is the recipient of Bhagavad Gita? Is Arjuna. He is a family man. In fact, Arjuna wanted to take sannyas. What did Krishna tell him? Krishna told, no, you don't take sannyas, you do your karma. Yuddhasva vigata jvara. Give up your lethargy and you fight. So what's the message?
Responsibility निभाओ.
Exactly. Detached responsibility. That's the communicated message. Now, I were to ask you a question. Now, suppose there is a group of students who are studying in a college, a batch of students, a batch of 1,000 people. Out of those 1,000 people in a batch of college, how many of them would like to become professors in the same college and teach?
Very few.
How much?
गिनती के 2-4.
Very good. 2-4. So that is the count of people who actually take to this path. We are like those people who have got the spirituality. Now we chose to be professors of the same path to others.
Okay.
So जिस तरीके से वो नंबर बहुत ही फ्रूगल होता है, बहुत कम रहता है. Similarly, this number is very few. And I mean, as per statistics, 99.99, एक और 9 भी लगा दो, percentage of my students, they all are married people or they are actually looking forward to marry. It's very few of them who take to this path.
कभी कभी प्रभु जी रस निकल जाता है ना उनको कि दुनिया में क्या रखा है, अब तो सब माया है.
Oh, what did Arjuna do after hearing Bhagavad Gita? He became a better warrior. It was Arjuna the 2.0.
बट कृष्णा बोल रहे थे ना प्रभु जी अर्जुना को.
बिल्कुल. So the same message of Krishna, that's what Lord Krishna says, evam parampara praptam. Anybody receiving this knowledge in the Guru Parampara, that potency that the knowledge carries to purify or to transform is the same.
बट प्रभु जी उधर से नॉलेज आया. आजकल आप देखेंगे ना कि एक कोई इंसान, वो चाइनीज विस्पर का गेम है ना, एक इंसान दूसरे को बोलेगा 5 इंसान तक मतलब बदल गया. तो हम ये जो गीता एज इट इज बोलते हैं, वो एज इट इज कैसे रही इतने हजारों साल से? गुरु शिष्य परंपरा में भी कोई द आ ई उ चेंज होके मीनिंग चेंज हो सकता है. सो वो कैसे?
There's quite a possibility, but that will not happen when there is a textbook. अभी आइंस्टाइन के टाइम से E is equal to MC square, उसका फॉर्मूला E is equal to MC cube नहीं बन गया. क्यों नहीं हुआ? Why?
लिखा हुआ है.
Exactly. So similarly, when you have Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, it is the Shastra that protects this Chinese whisper from happening. Why only Chinese whisper? It can be even Indian whisper. कुछ भी हो जाए, या Pakistani whisper, whatever. भी गड़बड़ की बाकी 3 पकड़ लेंगे भाई. या की मात्रा एक्स्ट्रा कहाँ से आ गई? राइट. सो देयर आर डिफरेंट स्कूल्स. सो कृष्णा हैज क्रिएटेड 4. सो एक करप्ट हो गया, दूसरा करप्ट, तीसरा भी हो गया, तो चौथा तो है कम से कम. सो दैट्स हाउ इट इज.
प्रभु जी इसमें एक और चीज मेरे को पूछनी थी. कोई जैसे इतने सारे ट्रांसलेशंस है इसके और इतने सारे कंट्रीज में, इनफैक्ट ISKCON स्टार्ट बाहर से हुआ था फ्रॉम व्हाट आई नो. सो कोई बोलता कि ये तो गोरों के लिए बना हुआ है, उनको समझ आने के लिए है. हमारे पास तो और भी पायस स्क्रिप्ट्स है. व्हाट डू हैव टू से अबाउट दिस?
फर्स्टली आई वुड लाइक टू फर्स्ट ब्रेक द फाउंडेशन ही तोड़ना चाहता हूँ इसका, कि द फाउंडर आचार्य ऑफ ISKCON is His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is from Calcutta, India.
Yes.
But he himself never believed himself to be an Indian. Neither did he believe that his audience were Americans, Europeans, Africans, nothing. He never believed in the bodily concept of life, because we are not the body, we are soul. That's the foundation teaching of our society. We may act for the needs of the body, but we don't act on the level of consciousness of the body. Yes. Just today, a few hours back, I was interacting with a group of individuals from Deland in US, and this was the first ever spiritual encounter of their life. और मैंने पहला ट्रूथ उनको यही बोला, and that was something which was deeply satisfying to them, that we are not this body, we are the soul. So in one sense, we are all made equal. Yes, we are all. Even if you see the American Constitution that's written 407 years ago, our forefathers brought forth a nation that all men are created equal. something to that effect. I don't know exactly if I've got the words, but everybody is created equal because the spirit soul is of the same nature. The body may be different. Yes, for example, एक गाड़ी का मॉडल हो सकता है, it may be Ertiga, it may be Baleno, maybe Mercedes, Lamborghini, लेकिन उसके अंदर बैठता हुआ व्यक्ति है ना, is after all a human being. तो similarly, गाड़ी की मॉडल की तरह ये शरीर का मॉडल अलग अलग हो सकता है. It can be Chinese, Japanese, African, whatever. But ultimately, the person sitting in the body is the spirit soul.
So is this a thread which is, aligning with foreigners, Indians alike, or is there more to it?
Very good. So the thread that unites everybody. Now you see United Nations. It was created in 1948. But after the United Nations came forth also, there were many nations which were created. There are many more. So is that actually uniting the nations? On the other hand, when Srila Prabhupada preached the Krishna consciousness movement, there were Jews and Germans who became best of friends. There were blacks and white who became best of friends. Why? Because they were uniting on the basis of the principle of Krishna consciousness, where Krishna is the God and we are all his servants. That's why in order to have universal brotherhood, firstly you need universal fatherhood. If father center में नहीं है तो brother कैसे बनेंगे आप लोग? तो universal brotherhood ऐसे free में नहीं बनता. Your brother, then who's your father? So unless and until we completely realize and recognize who's our father, it's not practically possible to have universal brotherhood.
And you meant to say where, some people naturally tend to, say that unke father, okay, Allah hai, Jesus hai. Their natural instinct is all the same, just the words is different. Is that what you mean to say?
Very true.
Right? Okay.
Very true. Ultimately, even if you look at the spiritualists, I was recently talking to a person who follows the Islam faith and he reads the Quran. So I was just interacting with him and I found him to be a very spiritually deep person. And if you look within the core, even he too said the same thing. There is no difference between Ram and Allah. These are his words. So those who are genuine spiritualists, they do completely understand and realize this fact that God is ultimately one. We might address him with different names.
But Prabhuji, फिर जैसे अगर meat eating है, so it's accepted in a certain way in another religion, but इधर नहीं है. तो अगर तरीके अलग है, आप बोल रहे कि उसके अंदर challenges है, okay. So अगर समझ लीजिए meat eating है, उसमें तमो गुण आ रहा है. If they're not able to progress, so how can they reach the fatherhood? भले दो same नाम बोल रहे हो.
All right. Essentially, all religions speak the same thing. They speak there's one God. We have to love God. We should not sin. We should accept a spiritual master. We should chant God's names. ये so essential जो principles है वो कभी change नहीं होते. Then what changes are the details which were laid down as per time, place and circumstances. आप देखिए, if you see the essential principles are the same, लेकिन कुछ detailing in terms of like example that you gave is meat eating. Now we need to understand कि जो preacher थे या फिर who was the Messiah, the prophet, उनका time, place, circumstances, conditions क्या थे? Now when Muhammad was preaching to the group of people, he had to tell them, do not have sex with your mother and sister. He had to mention this because that was the quality of his audience. So to them he said, okay, you can eat meat except that of a dog or a pig, but you have to perform a halal by which the creature doesn't suffer, it suffers minimal pain, and then you need to divide the meat into several parts, offer 6 parts in charity except one. So now one may think, ये सब करके भाई मतलब आम का बीज मैं बोल रहा हूँ भाई, फल तो सब खा रहे हैं, इसका करके मेरे को क्या मिल रहा है? So there is a lot of restriction, you see. Now restriction वहाँ पे है. Next, even if I'm Catholics, if you see the Old Testament says very clearly कि you should eat meat only on Friday. तो बाद में चल के वो बदल के meat eating every day allowed except Friday. Isn't that there a restriction there also? Now restriction की बात की. If you look at the Indian government, there is a restriction for people to drink liquor. I'm not sure because I've not even gone in that direction. लेकिन पता है कि एक बोतल सबको एक दिन में मिलते हैं. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I know.
I'm not sure. मतलब crop नहीं सकता है ऐसा?
नहीं, एक बॉटल एक दिन में. एक लाइसेंस होता है, लाइसेंस दुकानों से 1 bottle per person per day. ऐसा है. Isn't that a restriction? There is a restriction there. So restriction doesn't mean permission. Restriction is meant for regulation. So government is not approving the activity कि भाई आप लोग पियो. No, ये लोग वैसे भी पीने वाले हैं. They're anyway going to take it. So let them have some legitimate way of doing it. चलो we'll provide you. वरना देसी वेसी कुछ पी के आग वाग चले गए तो हम लोग पढ़ते थे केमिस्ट्री में क्या है मेथनॉल वगैरह वो पी लिया तो सीधा इट विल लीड टू ब्लाइंडनेस. सो वो सब छोड़ने से अच्छा है वी विल प्रोवाइड यू समथिंग व्हिच इज लेजिटिमेट and you do pay it to the government and you there's a regulation. So regulation or restriction which is offered even by Quran and Bible doesn't mean permission. It is in one sense discouraging. Now imagine there's एक बच्चा है उसको एग्जाम का टाइम है and he says that मेरे को खेलना है. So mother normally doesn't want the child to get distracted. No, study. The child is really fussy about it. मुझे खेलना है. All right बेटा ठीक है आधा घंटा खेल के वापस आओगे बस ठीक है. Now that mother is not permitting the child to play, rather is restricting the child. On the other hand, if you see Sanatan Dharma, the scripture of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, very clearly says that meat eating is a pillar of sinful life.
Got it, Prabhuji. But then एक बीच में कंट्रोवर्सी आई थी जैसे एक मानेका गांधी जी करके कोई है तो उन्होंने ये बोला था कि इस्कॉन काउ स्लॉटरिंग का बहुत बड़ा वो है. आई मीन मेरे को तो सही नहीं लगा था. मैंने दूसरे प्रभु जी से पूछा कि ओके ऐसे तो कैसे. बट फिर एक चीज़ किसी ने कोई बोली कि जैसे अगर मिल्क है मिल्क प्रोडक्शन इतना सारा हो रहा है एक काव है वो अपने लाइफ में लिमिटेड नंबर ऑफ बछड़े दे सकते हैं और बछड़े देते तभी मिल्क होता है. एंड इस्कॉन में घी इस्कॉन नहीं जनरली भी घी और ये सब चीज़ जब होता है तब वो मिल्क से आता है ऑब्वियसली. एंड जब इतना सारा मिल्क प्रोड्यूस हो रहा है इतने सारे बछड़े आ रहे हैं तो जब मेल बछड़े हैं तब उनका क्या. और जब इतने सारे बछड़े हैं देन सबको तो मिल्क नहीं मिल रहा है. You know, all this dynamics makes me really question ki actually how is this whole dynamics with milk and ISKCON. And I also wanted to understand Prabhuji where I was also talking about veganism. Ki veganism maybe can we actually like is it good or not from spiritual perspective. I was told I would love to be corrected from you. I was told ki almond milk, soya milk, all these are unnatural and not good for the body and spiritual soul also. So you should not consume it, only consume cow milk. But जब इतना सारा production हो रहा है तो wouldn't it always lead to cow slaughtering and all these things? So what do you have to say about that?
Okay. So पहली बात तो veganism rise कब हुआ? Veganism rose because of torture towards cows. कि काऊ को इंजेक्शन डाल के आर्टिफिशियली बहुत सारा इतना मिल्क वो आर्टिफिशियल जो भी सक्शन यूज करते थे they used to use it and that sometimes would even take some part of blood of the cow. It would torture the cow. Come on, produce. And if it's useless, send it to slaughterhouse. So very, very calculative mindset. ऐसे तो कुछ लोगों को ये देख करके बहुत ज़्यादा दया आ गई कि if we are getting milk at the cost of this torture, we don't want milk. That is the principle based on which veganism was arising. If you look at the Vedic teachings, the Vedic teaching says that milk is a very essential milk as in like cow milk. भैंस का बकरी का नहीं ऊंट का नहीं. It's not like the donkey's milk. No, not at all. Milk refers to cow milk. It is the food for the brain. It is the food by which one will develop the spiritual thoughts. Without that one cannot actually understand the scriptures. Ahara shuddho sattva shuddhi sattva shuddha dhruva smriti smritirabde sarva grantinam vipramokshanah. Unless and until you have this proper brain food, miracle food like the milk, we are not going to get the spiritual consciousness. So cow protection is for developing the proper consciousness through the consumption of milk. Now, how principally the cow protection happens is now you asked about the male cow, which is the bull. What happens to the bull? So I have gone to many of the goshalas. At least my experience might be limited, but whatever limited goshalas I have gone to, male cows are always kept for mating purposes. They impregnate the cows. They are not very productive because they're very, very passionate. They can hit you, they can beat you down. They have a lot of passion. So we cannot actually work with them. They are not symbiotic creatures. उनके साथ काम नहीं कर सकते. On the other hand, जो oxen होते हैं neuter, they plough the field very naturally. So, but I have gone to many, many places where even an old bull was very nicely taken care of.
तो जी इसकी क्वांटिटी कितनी कम होती है. मैं हमेशा गया हूँ 100, 150, 200 में से 2 या 3 ऐसे हो गए. तो बाकी के किधर सिर्फ इतने से मेल बुल हो रहे हैं. आई मीन वेयर वुड दे गो. दिखने चाहिए ना फिर.
Exactly. Well, I'm not very much aware of the mechanism, but definitely I agree with you that the number of bulls which I have seen are less. But लेकिन बहुत बार होता है कि now we are also a very growing community. Cow protection और cow गौशाला बढ़ा रहे हैं. Number of cows we are increasing. So in the beginning you will have to purchase. Now people have to be very calculative while you are investing in this particular field. So एक bull से चल जाता है. So that's how they take normally. Yes, we need to go and revisit very well established goshalas which have been running for 30-40 years. वहाँ probably the population might be more. But I agree with you. बहुत बार मैंने देखा अभी आज कब शुरू किया वो प्रभु जी वो 5-6 साल से कर रहे हैं या 10 साल से कर रहे हैं. That's very less of an experience. लेकिन जितना ज़्यादा होगा उधर जाके देखना पड़ेगा. Probably we have to see. I never really thought from this point of view, but अभी मैं भी सोच रहा हूँ ऐसा. I'll definitely inquire.
प्रभु जी, even I saw गोवर्धन इको विलेज में एक अच्छी चीज़ मैं देखी, बुल का मैंने इतना ढंग से नहीं देख पाया बिकॉज गौशाला बंद हो गई थी, बट आई सॉ कि गधों को भी उधर चारा देना था, गोट्स भी थे उधर, हिरन भी थी. So it was a really wonderful sight to see at Govardhan Eco.
And the visionary, the director behind the Govardhan Eco Village is my spiritual master, and his vision behind taking care of these creatures is, although we may not reap any benefit out of it, they are kept there for selfless service, so that we develop the selfless service attitude. That is the purpose of having the Gada. In fact, he is even named the donkey, Daksha. He's named the Daksha and Dakshini.
Right. And Bruce, when we're talking of Govardhan Eco Village, I also wanted to know, Govardhan Eco Village, so like I went there, it's like the whole recreation of Vrindavan. इतना crazily massive जगह है. So उसके लिए इतना crazy fund भी चाहिए, right? And it's also a resort. So what's the dynamics of creating such a place? Would you be aware of the whole structure, how these massive structures are being made, who funds it? And can you tell me what is the maximum amount of fund you might have actually seen one person donating?
Well, I'm not much into that domain, but all I can say is the purpose of creation of this Govardhan Eco Village is for people to experience the Vrindavan how it was 5,000 years back. Minus the pollution, minus the tall skyliners, minus the commercial aspect. Of course, now people are earning money in the dham, they are wanting, in fact, one says they are also serving. But minus all this, what was that Nirjana Vrindavan? Yes, to experience that particular mood. Because Vrindavan means Nirjana Vrindavan. Nirjana means not very populated, not very commercial, not very crowded, not very noisy. It's very natural. So that kind of experience is something. In order to experience that particular Vrindavan, that setting where we can go and do our bhajan purely. Yes, that was the purpose behind creating this particular place. And if you see, this is my humble understanding, I might be totally wrong, that many times if we were to invite, because our preaching goes worldwide, yes, and there are people from all over the world who are accepting Krishna consciousness, and they say Krishna stays in Vrindavan. And if we were to bring them to the Bhaumya Vrindavan, they might get a little bewildered seeing the externals. On the other hand, when they see this replica of Vrindavan, they're able to feel very connected. Right? So the Bhaumya Vrindavan, which is there in the Uttar Pradesh situated, that is Vrindavan. That's very beautiful Vrindavan.
True.
But we, in order to experience the beauty of it, we have to be really pure. Yes? Vishya chhadiya kabe shuddha kabe man, tabe ame heribo Shri Vrindavan. It's only when we are completely free from all the malice and the vices in the heart, that's when we are able to actually experience the Vrindavan Dham. But somehow by the mercy of the very wonderful devotees headed by a very spiritually visionary leader, we are able to experience that aspect of Vrindavan very, very much in the Govardhan Eco Village project.
So Prabhuji, in coming to the concluding part of the podcast, I would love to understand if there's someone who is, bogged down by all the पाप कर्मास, अगर उनकी लाइफ में सारा चीज़ खराब चल रहा है, so what can they actually experience from the perspective of spirituality? What are the actions they can actually take to come at a better place?
I will give you a very practical aspect. It's very sublime, actually very practical. You would need association of one devotee or one saintly person. That changes your life. Because spirituality, we have A, B, C, D, E. A for association, B for books, C for chanting, D for diet, and E for engagement. But what is something that can, B, C, D can be taken care of very easily when we have the A in place? So the beginning, because abhi bolunga chalo chanting karo. You might do it for a few days and then give it up. Come on, page by page you become a sage. Start reading the Gita. शुरुआत किया, गया काम से. चलो प्रसाद खाओ, एक टाइम पे जाके गए, रोज थोड़ी खा सकते हैं. एक बार मंदिर गए, प्रसाद खा के आ गए. Engagement, या चलो एक सेवा किया, बहुत आनंद आया. After that what? But when you get connected to a devotee, accept the devotee as your spiritual mentor and start becoming accountable. Start connecting to get knowledge, to get experience. Yes, that is when your spiritual journey actually starts.
So where can one find that devotee?
Well, principally, when you have a sincere desire to meet God, to see God, to connect with God, God sends you that devotee. Like Dhruv Maharaj, example, in the Bhagavatam. Very famous example. He was a small boy. He left his kingdom. He was practically staying near Kanpur. He left that place and he came to Vrindavan. He was there in Madhuvan. And because he had a sincere desire, I want to find God, I want to see him face to face. God sent him a messenger in the form of Narad Muni to connect to him. So that connection is definitely made. And how to go about it? Well, personally, because I belong to the ISKCON organization and I'm very convinced by the services that are offered, you might go to a nearest ISKCON center that you're connected to or you are living by in the city. And there is a forum for everybody to get a mentor, spiritual mentor.
Okay.
And thus you can get connected.
So they can just go there, reception or anywhere, they can ask, what is it?
Yeah, in my locality, what are the programs going on?
Okay,
well, I am a youth, then I wish to get connected to a youth mentor. Can I get a youth mentor? Well, if somebody is a married folk, well, I want to get connected to the married folks around my suburb.
Okay.
You can go and get connected there.
And is it specifically that they'll talk about Krishna or अगर कुछ को या फिर खुद को अगर कुछ general material problem भी है तो भी they can go, like कुछ frustration है या फिर कुछ है तो भी they can go and approach them?
Yeah, we need to understand one thing, that spirituality is a holistic phenomena. We can't neglect, because Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, although it's completely a spiritual science, he does talk about food, 3 types of food, in goodness, passion and ignorance. He talks about the mind management. Yes, Chanchalam Himana Krishna Arjuna presents his problem about mind. He talks about as simple aspect as how to balance your day. Yukta ahara viharascha, yukta cheshtasa karmashu, yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. This everything there. So development means holistic development. So we have 4 quotients of our life: physical quotient, emotional quotient, intellectual quotient and spiritual quotient. And all these quotients are very deeply connected. So whenever we offer somebody guidance, it should not be one-sided. That might be a sort of disservice. We should definitely keep in consideration that the person grows holistically. सोचो कि एक व्यक्ति का सिर्फ सिर बढ़ रहा है. His head, I'm so sorry. So a person's head is expanding. व्यक्ति का head expand हो रहा है पूरा, and the body remains as it is. What is going to happen? नहीं जमेगा. Now imagine a person का पैर बढ़ रहा है, सिर्फ पैर बढ़ता जा रहा है. You look very clumsy, right?
Yes.
So growth means holistic. So whenever a person is a trained mentor, we are always trained that you need to grow the person physically, intellectually, emotionally and spiritually. They are all connected.
That's great. So anyone can go and get those guidance and they can get associated.
Definitely.
Okay, Prabhuji. And in one line, do you have anything, what's the most urgent message which you want to give to the youth at this point?
Yeah. The message that I wish to give to the youth of today at this particular point of time is, number 1, please do not neglect spirituality. I'll tell you a story. There was once a lady, and she was an old lady. This lady was somebody who was feeling very lonely. There was no husband. The children had gone and settled abroad. She was all alone. So she walked up to a pet store to get a pet. And somehow she liked a bird very much. Right? So she got the bird along with the cage. And every day, 3 times, very religiously, with a lot of effort and diligence, she would rub the cage, she would wipe it, she would wash it, and she would also polish it very nicely. 3 times a day, very nicely. But gradually, she saw that the bird in the cage is growing weaker, and one fine day, not so fine day, the bird died. Why? You have any idea?
Set free?
Well, the bird was there in the cage as well for a long time. Exactly. The bird was not fed the food. So spirituality is feeding the soul, our true self. So हम भी 3 time breakfast, lunch, dinner मस्त खिलाते 3 time. we were very nicely taking care of the cage. But what about the bird in the cage? So the message to the youth is it's high time we start feeding the bird within. And this entire podcast that we have done, and I would like to really thank you for getting the good out of me in order to present some message that as I've experienced, it's my realization plus the teachings that I've been imbibing and also inculcating in my life and trying to spread it to others, is that we definitely should start thinking about this. One step at a time. So you say, "I mentor, abhi kuch nahi." Start chanting. And I would like everybody to pick up a copy of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Read one page. I was talking to a very successful CEO of a company. Many of his subordinates call him Mr. Super Cool. His tagline is, being calm is superpower. So I asked him, sir, what is your secret? Because many of our employees are profoundly influenced by you. And they're very impressed. And they tell that you make very wonderful decisions. What do you do? He says, normally people wake up, they do their morning a little bit of duties. They go about to the balcony and they pick up the newspaper. I do something different. Instead of picking up the newspaper, I pick up the Bhagavad Gita and read it for half an hour. And whatever wisdom I'm able to draw out of it, that is what I apply in my life. And based on that wisdom, I take my decisions. So it's going to help you in practical life also.
Right.
Those principles remain the same.
Yes.
So I'd like every one of you to pick up the copy of Bhagavad Gita as it is and definitely read it. That's one thing you can do. If you're intellectual, do this. If you're looking for mindfulness meditation, there's no better mindfulness than chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And if you're really a seeker who wants to bring about a orbit shift in your life, then I would say you approach a mentor and start getting trained, coached, guided and tutored by the mentor and progress at your own pace. There's no problem.
Great, Prabhuji. And I guess I've also found another mentor in my life, something which I'm sure will change my life and also of those who have seen this podcast. Thank you so much for all the knowledge which you have showered on us. It was amazing talking to you. Thank you so much.
It was nice talking to you as well.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So maybe we आप एक short feedback दे सकते हैं Prabhuji. What was your experience on this show?
Personally, my experience coming to this podcast and hearing a lot of questions. This is the first time I've answered variety of so many different kinds of questions. मतलब जितने भी possible questions हो सकते हैं under the sun, आपने connected to spirituality, you just try to put in as much as possible. And it definitely brought out my best, I would say that. And personally, it was a very engaging experience for me. I felt very much engaged. And I had to think from different aspects. Because spirituality may be different facets होते हैं, so I was able to engage in different parts of the facets. And I feel very much fulfilled because I have made this contribution. It was a difficult decision to make. When Nitish reached out to me, it was almost half day was done. My schedules were all packed. Normally my system switches off at 9 p.m. or at least 9:30. But when he came up to me, somehow there was a very different kind of calling from him that, Prabhuji, please make it. So I just had to comply to it. And thank you so much for bringing me here. I really enjoyed it. Hare Krishna. I would like to request you all to please like, share and subscribe to the Nitish Jain Show. Hare Krishna.